Welcome to Oregon Voters Digest, the program that brings forward the social and political issues that are important to people living here in the Pacific Northwest. And now, your host, Bruce Broussard.
Public safety here in the Portland metropolitan area, the largest area in the state of Oregon, okay? It's been an issue for years, still is an issue, and we're just trying to resolve it somewhat. Now is the time to do it. We've got to do it now. We've got all kinds of things happening nationally, got me? So the point is that the issue is back on the table. And so my immediate point is to say, hey, we got to do the issue. The solution is right here in our state, and we got to do it here. The national every state in the union has an issue, but we've got an issue here. So I thought I'd go back in time, if you will, in my time, and from the standpoint of public safety, and bring on two people that we've been talking about this issue ever since I've been on the show. In fact, the way I got there, in fact, when I got here and talked about public service, this guy was running for public office. He was running for county sheriff years back.
2006.
2006. Don Dupay, and the one who basically articulated and basically laid out the written word on the whole piece was his wife, Teresa Dupay, and she was on. And so she had to step aside for a moment. She was still writing her books and getting involved, but public safety was one of her major issues. And as a result of that, and I mean there were two or three publications that came out. How many books came out?
Oh gosh, we've published I think 8 books now. 8 or 9 books.
8 or 9 books, yeah. Just on public safety.
Well, no. His career and things like that.
Well, but still, it was still there because Don he was the cop, folks, right up front with you. He's been in the force. He's former Navy, and that's how we kind of hooked up to a certain degree. And that's now I'm in the Corps, and the Navy is the Department of the Marine Corps. Am I right?
No, sort of.
But anyway, they signed my check, if you will. But the bottom line is great. But I've got these two people here today. We're going to spend some time talking about public safety, and you can Google YouTube and get those past shows.
Yeah,
those past shows they're all there. But my point is that we're going to bring it up current today. We're going to try to figure out what can we talk about today as it relates to public safety here in the Portland Metro, the largest city in the state of Oregon, and it is an issue. Okay, Don, how you doing?
I'm good.
You're looking great.
I feel good.
Looking great. I see you brought the commander-in-chief here with me, Teresa. The boss.
Household.
I got one too.
Yeah. You better.
I got one too. But we're going to talk about public safety right off the bat. In fact, let's just jump right into it.
Okay.
Okay. And then with Teresa, I'm probably going to ask you some questions. That we've been talking about this, that, and the other, and at the same time, I may dip in there every so often, do whatever. But we're going to get right into the public safety. We got. Let's talk about public safety today as you see it today.
Yeah.
We've got public safety today, right up front. We got an organization. It sits under the mayor's office, so to speak. Okay, our police chief. We got a police chief, Portland police chief. And he got a certain responsibility.
Bob Day.
Bob Day.
Yeah.
Bob Day. In fact, it's my understanding real quick, like they've just extended his contract too, just recently.
Oh wow.
They extended his contract. The new mayor, Keith Wilson, has extended his contract for more, and that's an interesting issue. But anyway, it still has to be passed by the city council, because the city council makes all the decision. So they do all that piece. But we'll get into that. I couldn't run in my mouth, and let's get right now. Bob. Jesus Christ. Don.
Yes, sir.
Okay, let's talk. You've been looking at some of the news when the guy got appointed and all that other good stuff. What is the definition? How do you feel we could define public safety as it so stands here in the city of Portland?
Portland has a big police department, and they're not utilizing their resources properly.
Okay.
There is way too much specialization in the patrol division. I think that if it's my police department, all patrol cars would be 2-man cars, and we would patrol the districts that we can control with 2-man cars. I would not put an officer in an already dangerous job, make it even more dangerous by putting one man out in a car by themselves. That's economic stupidity, I think. So I would have all two-man cars, and any slop that must be taken up because I have two-man cars is going to have to be taken up by the county. They can step up. The state police, they can step up. But I'm going to do the best I can with the resources I have. And the resources I have are a mess. We have too much specialization in the patrol division. Specialization should be limited to detectives. We have vice cops. We have traffic cops. We have internal investigation cops. We got all these guys that are just patrolmen, and instead of giving them a raise, they give them a title.
Interesting.
So I'm going to put them all back in uniform, and a vice cop is going to be a detective. If we're going to do internal affairs, they're going to be detectives too. But internal affairs is against the law anyway. So internal affairs, I'm going to go with that again. It's against the 14th Amendment, which says equal justice for all. There's nowhere in there that says the police department can have their own justice system, or the electricians, or the plumbers, or anybody else. So internal affairs is de facto against the Constitution. And we are paying probably, 5 or 6 officers to do that job, internal affairs. We're paying our own officers to violate the Constitution.
What do they do?
Nonsense.
What do they do?
I think they are. Aren't they generally detectives?
Yeah, they should be detectives.
I think they are.
Who?
Internal affairs are generally
No,
detectives.
they're not detectives.
Okay.
They're patrolmen.
They just investigate. They investigate the
For
police
instance,
misconduct.
there's another for instance is they have a traffic division. There's really no reason to have a separate group of guys that are just doing traffic enforcement. All the policemen should be traffic cops.
Yeah.
Teach these proud cops to investigate accidents. It's not that hard. I was a traffic cop for many years. I've investigated hundreds of accidents, including fatals, so it's no big deal. So teach the uniform cars to be traffic cops too. Give them all one of them speed guns. Those things are fun to play with, and they will use them. So stop with the specialization. Just going to put two-man cars. We're going to do the best we can with them, and they're going to do everything in it. They're going to be responsible for everything in the district. Everything, except murders, and you got to call the detectives. Accidents, family beefs, whatever the problem is with the school, it's the responsibility of the district two-man car. Period. No more specialization.
T, you got a couple of questions? What anything?
Oh, well, I think Don and I don't agree on everything. I think
Okay.
that there are certain specializations that are necessary. For example, obviously murder, but also sex crimes.
That's
Special.
detective work.
Well, I know, but anyway. But yeah, we have some questions here that I came up with.
Right.
So yeah, a lot of people were really upset when, I think it was 2 weeks ago, there was a man named Raul Nava Jr. who went crazy in Northwest Portland, had a gun in his underwear, kind of down his back in his underwear, and in his underwear and jeans, kind of securely in his back, visible.
Portland.
Yeah, in Northwest Portland. It was like two and a half weeks ago. Had a knife, was threatening police officers with a knife, and so they decided not to arrest him, not to take him in. They could have done. They said they tried to mace him, or they tried to use maybe it was a stun gun or something, but it didn't work, which tells me that they weren't trying hard enough. They let him go, and he could have gone on to
Portland
assault.
police.
Right. They decided not to continue with him, and they let him go. And nearby residents gave him money and food. Well, it's good that it worked out, but he could have been potentially dangerous. He could have assaulted one of those people. He could have, I mean, it's ridiculous that a man with a gun and a knife who was behaving that erratically and was obviously that much of a danger was just allowed to run off. And
That's just one example.
And they
of
didn't
not
arrest him.
doing their job.
Right. And a lot of people in Portland were really critical of that and were really upset about that.
So Don, how do you
These
react to this?
street takeovers are another thing.
Yeah.
They say that they don't want to send one-man car in there
Mm-hmm.
because it's too dangerous.
Exactly, because
Please,
yeah, they should.
please, give me the car. I'll go in there. I'm serious.
I know.
yeah.
You wish you
got a
could.
street takeover.
Yeah.
You take one police car, turn on the light and siren, and drive it right in the middle of them.
Yeah.
What are
right.
they going to do?
Right.
They're
right.
going to leave.
Right. Exactly.
Are they going to go to jail? I'm
Yeah.
not afraid to go in there though. Where do they get these cops that even say things like that?
Well, you got a chief of police. I mean, there's issues that I have. He should be with his troops.
No.
You're saying that he should be at the mayor's office.
Well,
Is that right?
Another really
Oh, I'm
important.
sorry.
Another
No, sorry about that.
really important issue is Jessica Vega Peterson's terrible budget. And I just want to say it's terrible. She wants to cut public safety services, and Nathan Vasquez is very upset. The DA of Portland is very upset because of her budget, which would result in 10 of his employees in that office being terminated. And they need those prosecutors and
But what about their cops?
lawyers.
You know, you get the county cops, and don't do respect. Don made a point reference and standpoint. That's part of a backup. That's part of the public safety entity
Yeah.
here in the Portland area, right?
Yeah.
Multnomah
Yeah.
County, right?
she needs she needs a couple $1 million over her private security.
She's also increased funding for her private security detail.
Wait a minute.
Yeah, Jessica Vega Peterson.
Well, are these going to be sheriff folks?
You know,
Are they
they're
going to
going
come from
to
the
be.
sheriff department? Or is this
I'm not sure.
Huh?
I don't know.
They probably will be
Yeah,
sheriffs.
sheriffs.
They'll be sheriff.
Yeah.
Wait a minute. Wait. I'm missing something here.
Yeah, me
You're going to
too.
get extra $2 million. Are they going to be getting more people on the force? Are they?
They're going to be cutting positions, so their PPB is going to lose. They could lose up to 40 officers. I mean, that's what
No,
I
but
read.
what about the sheriff department though?
I don't know.
This
about
extra
that.
$2 million, you said that she's going for budgetary deal
The budget's like for it's
for
millions.
the county sheriff.
I'm not sure.
Not just for the sheriff, it's for the whole county.
Yeah, it's for a bunch of different things. She's cutting a bunch of different services.
No, I'm sorry.
But
I shouldn't
public-
have. No, she's going to basically get her personal safety, right?
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
she's increasing the budget for her security
For
detail.
how much?
I'm not sure, but I'll have to find out.
It's over $1 million.
Yeah.
It's over $1 million.
So she's going to give a raise to some of the folks that are,
I don't
are
know if
sheriffs?
she's going to hire private security or she's going to. I don't know how she's going to work it out. But
What does she need the security for?
good question.
Well, she's not very liked.
You know,
She's not very popular.
she's
and,
a young lady who's
young.
got her first
No,
real
she's not.
job, makes over $100,000 a year, got herself a nice house up there and moved from her district.
She's not young.
She moved from her district over to the West Hills. She has a sense of self-importance. Now she's somebody. Now she needs a security detail because I live in the West Hills.
Okay, so this article is from April 18th. Multnomah County pulls money from departments' accounts to fund security, including new detail for county chair Jessica. Yeah. And pulling funds from multiple departments and a contingency reserve account to pay for higher than expected security costs this year, including a new personal security detail for Jessica Vega Peterson. Totaling, the Board of Commissioners on Tuesday approved the shift in funds totaling $2.2 million.
How many people you talking about? A squad?
Yeah, really?
A squad, maybe?
I don't know.
Company or something?
That's 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.
24 hours?
Or something.
Jesus Christ.
I mean, it's ridiculous.
Will there be a fence kind of a situation of the house or something?
The
I
whole,
mean, this is ridiculous.
the whole thing about law enforcement, whether she's in charge of it or somebody else is still messed up here in the city.
It says right here the county pulled $515,000 from its general and contingency account. Officials said roughly $154,000 of the funds pulled from the contingency account is funding new personal protection for Vega Peterson. So it would be $154,000 per year. But yeah, it's ridiculous. Why does she need a new security detail? You know, that's
What
ridiculous.
about the other commissioners?
Oh, I'm sure they don't have one. I mean, she's head
Maybe they
honcho.
should have. Maybe
She's
they
head
should have.
honcho.
Well, the format of this, the format. And I've been to many of those gatherings, if you will,
Mm-hmm.
on a weekly basis. They don't say anything. I mean, the people who should be talking and they should be really listening to and reacting to are the folks who are sitting in the dioceses out there.
Yeah.
The public.
Right.
Giving them 2 minutes. Giving them 2 minutes
Right.
to express
They're 2 and 3 minutes to
That's
speak
ridiculous.
to speak before the king.
That's ridiculous. That's ridiculous.
Another thing that people are really upset about is that Jessica Vega Peterson and Candace Avalos have been sanitizing their social media accounts of negative
Now you're talking
comments.
about the city of Portland chair, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Jessica Vega Peterson and Candace Avalos, and even I believe the Senator Cam Pham, they are basically breaking censorship laws that are current in the U.S. Constitution, and they delete negative comments or questions that their constituents have. And I actually posted about this on my social media a couple of days ago. Before I even knew who Candace Avalos was, like a couple of years ago, I was told who she was by a friend, and to look her up on Twitter. She was described as a militant cop hater. So I thought, okay, I'll look her up. And I discovered that she had blocked me on Twitter, and I had never had one single interaction with her. So I am one of her constituents now. And she's known for blocking not only dozens of Portlanders, people, in Portland residents, her constituents, not only dozens of them, but hundreds of them. If they have a question, if they have a criticism of her, if they post anything that she doesn't like on her Instagram, on her Twitter, on her Facebook, she deletes those comments. That's irresponsible for a politician.
That's her job.
And it's
getting
against
paid.
the U.S. Constitution, censorship laws. So,
Wow.
So people are upset about that.
Good. Yeah. Any other goodies there that you thought about that you guys chatted about a bit? Then we're gonna get into.
Well, I have. Let's see. How I just came up with a few questions. In what ways can police work be improved in today's world? How can community policing help vulnerable Portlanders? It seems like there's not enough of a focus on actual community policing because.
It's expensive.
Well, I guess, but also it's just, it seems like the police stay in their cars and only respond to calls. And I know that we're short-staffed. I know that PPB is they don't have enough police officers. I understand that, but I remember last Christmas there was a big hubbub about how Portland Police Bureau, they're going to do, they're walking a beat. They're going to be walking a beat downtown, and that should be every day. That should be every day that police should be walking a beat.
Yes.
And they acted like it was such a because it was around the holidays and people were doing Christmas shopping, and so they made a big thing about it, and it was on all the social media, and I was like, well, that's fantastic, but maybe we could just do that on a regular basis all the time.
Well, that's
The reason they don't do that is because it's expensive.
Why is it
When
expensive?
you take one cop out of a car, he can only patrol a few blocks. If you put him in a car, he can patrol some miles.
Okay.
That's the reason for it. So if you want the guys to get out of the car, you got to have more guys.
Right.
The only place that ever really had a walking beat here in Portland was Skid Row. I've never seen a walking beat anyplace else.
Where is this? What was this?
Skid Row.
Skid Row.
Yeah.
Like
Downtown.
3rd and
Downtown.
Burnside.
Yeah. Old Town.
Yeah.
Old Town.
The red
Yeah,
light
Old Town.
district.
Old Town.
Old Town.
Yeah, Jesus Christ. Wow.
So if you want community policing, you got to pay for it.
Well, look, let's talk about this community policing just for a second. We've got neighborhood associations that's been established for years.
Yeah.
Okay, got me? And they're all in every section of our city, per se. And at one point in time, I can still remember some of the meetings that we were having that I attended, if you will. They talked about the possibility of neighborhood watch, that type of stuff, organizing citizens, if you will, to do some things like walk around in the evening. Folks would walk around the block to get to know their neighbors better, that type of deal. Or in fact, I think I can even remember I made a point about maybe do a little bounty hunter or something, give them a little money, if you will, to watch, if you will. But the fact of the matter is, we can get the citizens a little bit more involved. I mean, we think about community policing, and all due respect, it's gotten down to the point now that who wants to be a cop to a certain, it's tough trying to sell that job to. And then looking at the kind of recipients they're actually coming on board. Just like you were talking about the fact letting people go.
Yeah, that was pretty disappointing.
That was very, very disappointing. And,
Yeah.
and they didn't talk about that enough.
Yeah.
The only thing they came up with was, we need more money to get more cops. Well, okay, but like you said, what are we doing with what we have right now, the resources that we have now? And if we say community policing, we need to get community more involved in the process. You know what I mean? Pick up the phone. If you see this whole idea of cop watch, all that kind of good stuff. Let's get community involved in the process.
Yeah.
I mean, just like you were talking about it, we're talking about it. Don't be anti the people that are talking about it.
Yeah.
Get them involved in the process.
There's some recent changes to certain laws regarding assault that really frustrate me. For example, a couple of weeks ago, my ex-husband was assaulted by a repeat offender in Portland, who has assaulted multiple elderly people that live in this awful apartment that he lives in. And we called the police because it turned into a kind of a bad situation. Dawn and I were there with my ex-husband, who's disabled, and we help him and we visit him about once a week. He fell in his apartment and almost died, and it was just a real big deal.
Wow.
And this crazy guy lives right next to him, and he came out screaming and yelling, shoved John against the doorway, against the wall, and I got between them first. I turned my back on the guy, trying to just separate him, because he goes after people that are vulnerable. John's 65. He walks with a walker. He's got a really bad leg. He's a former athlete, and so it turned into this big deal. And so I called the police, and this guy came out, very nice guy. But because no one was bleeding, because no one needed an ambulance, it didn't constitute assault. It was described as unwanted touching. It wasn't touching. It was shoving violently and shoving my ex-husband against the door. And I was very disappointed in that, and so I sent out emails. I sent 2 emails to the DA. I called Aging Services Division and asked them to conduct an investigation, which they did. They came out just the other day and interviewed John, and Dawn and I were there. It's really disappointing when vulnerable citizens, elderly citizens in Portland, are being assaulted by a 28-year-old.
Well, where's the county during that time? Yeah, you did mention the DA.
And they emailed me back. They're looking
county?
into it. And apparently this guy may be getting evicted, but he's a repeat offender. He's just going to...
He has problems.
He's got a lot of
mental
problems.
problems.
But he goes after elderly people. He's a bully, and he's a coward.
That's the county's job. Was the county aware of that situation?
I'm not sure. I don't think so. But
The problem is the cops should have arrested him.
yeah,
The cops should have arrested him then and there.
Right.
yeah.
Because they had 2 complainants willing to sign complaints. Why didn't you arrest him?
Well,
I would have arrested him.
He assaulted John, and he also assaulted another tenant, like 3 minutes later. He shoved her against the wall and threatened her, and he threatened to kill me. I mean, it was just really crazy, and he wasn't arrested. He ran off. He's done it before. He was gone for 5 days. I think he comes back periodically, but he's going to escalate. He's going to graduate to something worse. He's going to push some elderly person against the wall that's not going to come back from it. Like John came back from it. This woman, he shoved her against the wall. She filed a restraining order against him. He's going to cross the wrong person. He's going to end up dead, or he's going to kill someone. And he should have been arrested, and he wasn't arrested.
Maybe the police should be doing their job.
Yeah, I was really disappointed. And so I came home, and I was, madder than a hornet, because this guy is a bully and a predator, and he goes after people, and he only targets elderly people that are disabled. And he's 28 years old. He's a total coward and a bully, and he should have been arrested, and he wasn't arrested. Nothing happened,
Well, again, we're talking about public safety in many ways. Public safety, and then a little history in terms of, with reference to what Don was talking about, how police should have reacted, and what he would have done, because he was on the force. And then getting a direct piece from Stanley Bruce, he should have been arrested right then and there. He would have arrested. Why aren't they doing it now? Now that what we're hearing about today, we're short of cops. We need more money.
Yeah.
You got me?
And Jessica Vega Peterson is going to cut funding.
That's right.
It's
ridiculous. We got two law enforcement. We got one at the county, and we got the one in the city.
Yeah.
Normally people just look at the Portland police as
Yeah.
the Portland. No, you got the county police too,
Right,
the officer
right.
too aspect of it. So the name of the game is, and then each are saying we got a budget shortfall. Well, just recently, I guess Mayor Wilson was before City Council, not City Council, City Club.
Yeah.
He just did a piece on the City Club piece, and he talked about the idea he's going to give more money to police again.
Oh, good.
But there still has to be a question mark. What are we doing?
Right.
What are we doing for the money? Don talked a little bit about that in terms of the reorganization of what they already have to a certain degree, and why aren't they listening, Don?
I've been telling them this for years.
I know that, but why? What's the?
I don't know, probably because it makes sense. You know,
Have they ever picked up the call? I mean, you
explain to me, if they can explain to me why they need a traffic division.
Right,
That's what I'd like
right.
to do. Explain to me why you need those guys.
But Don, you've written how many books? How many books are there? 3 or 4?
4.
4 books. 4 books. You're a former cop. It's right up front with you, straight up with you, very articulate. You've been in the business. It's not somebody that's just off the street just talking or whatever. You know your business aspect of it. How many times we've done these shows? You've written books on this piece. How many times in the department? I'm talking about Portland Police Department, or the mayor, because he's the commander in chief, if you will, of the chief. How many times have they called you to sit down and have a cup of coffee with you to listen to what you had to say?
Never,
many
because the commanders that I worked for were crooks. I worked for Jim Purcell Jr., the most crooked cop that ever lived.
Well, I think.
Ron Still.
Yeah, Ron Still.
Ron
The
Still
late
was a
Ron
murderer,
Still.
thief, a robber, Ron's Rogues.
Yeah.
Well, those are major
Raiders.
issues.
Ron's
Ron's
Raiders.
And you were familiar with that, but I'm just saying. But today,
I think that a lot of police officers today regard men like Don as dinosaurs.
They don't want to hear what us
this old
80-year-old
cop-
guys got to
Exactly.
say.
This old cop that was on from 1961 to 1978, what does he know about police work?
exactly.
Don says one thing that I always agree with. Police work has not changed. It really hasn't. The only thing that's changed is technology. And I was talking to a sergeant when I talked to this sergeant a couple of weeks ago, and I said the very same thing, and I could tell he didn't really understand what I meant or agree with me. But Don always says police work has not changed. It's still the same. Murder, robbery, rape, child molestation, assault. The only thing that's changed is the technology. And the political climate has changed.
Yeah.
But they don't want to talk to someone like Don because he's just this old dinosaur to them, even though he has a lot of really good ideas.
well, they can look at the show.
Yeah.
I mean, you can look at the show.
Yeah.
They can tune it in, or
Yeah.
they can buy a book. They can get a book.
Yeah.
They could have put a couple of dollars. The city could have said, "Okay," and then this make this a priority in that
Yeah.
training.
Yeah.
And we went through that. Maybe we went through that process. And I contacted some folks, and
Don and I wrote a really important essay. Several years ago, when was it? 2013. There were 2 professors, Professor Leanne Cerbulo and Professor Karen Gibson, wrote this essay that was published with the Oregon Historical Society in the Oregon Historical Quarterly magazine. It was called The Black and Blue Report. The Black and Blue Report. The Black and Blue Report. And it was all about how racist and corrupt the Portland Police Bureau was in the 1960s. They interviewed all these people to do their report. It won an award. They got a lot of pats on the back. They didn't interview one single police officer, not one single old-timer police officer from the 60s. They made claims that were inaccurate, that were false. So Don and I spent 5 years writing a response essay, which is called The Black and Blue Retort Report. It's one of the most interesting essays. We spent a lot of time writing it because we were busy with other things. We really put a lot of really valuable information into that essay, and when we published it, Chris Davis, who was the assistant chief at the time, I sent it to him because I had chatted with him before regarding various things. He's such a wonderful person. He left Portland and he's working somewhere else.
Green Bay.
Where?
He's the chief of police in Green Bay, Wisconsin now.
Green Bay, Wisconsin. Anyway, he finally got out of Portland, and we understood why he wanted to leave. But I sent him that essay. He loved it, and he he's sent me a message and he said, "Can I send it to the other people in the department?" And I said, "Send it to whoever you want." So he sent it to a lot of people. It goes over the technology that that Leanne Cerbulo and Karen Gibson got all wrong. It went over certain accusations about this man that was shot in the back and how he was allowed to bleed to death in this car, and all of these things. They made all of these mistakes.
You shared this.
And we went over. I mean, it's a long essay, and it took us 5 years to complete it. And Chris Davis really enjoyed it, and he shared it with a lot of people in the department and his friends. And it basically called them to task because they made so many mistakes when they're accusing an entire department, including Don, of being racist, of hating black people, which was not true, of not trying to help the black community. And so when they found out about the essay that we published and that we were sending it around, because I sent it to a lot of places, they were furious. They were so upset. We got these crazy emails from them. They were so upset. One thing they said that was really important is they said that there was some kind of a survey that was conducted in the 60s where all of these Portland police officers said that they were not happy with the civil rights movement, that it was moving too fast. And I asked Don, I said, "Did you ever get a survey?" He didn't know anything about it. I talked to several other police officers that I know, old-time cops. "Did you get a survey in the mid-60s regarding this supposed survey that they're saying was conducted?" And they didn't know what I was talking about. And we mentioned that in our response essay. Basically, they made up a lie, or they were fed misinformation. There was no survey. Don doesn't remember a survey that was done, about their opinions on the civil rights movement, So it's a really important essay, and if people want to know about the history of PPB and how technology has changed, and the way technology worked when Don was a cop, that's a really good essay to read. It's called The Black and Blue Retort Report, and it took us 5 years to finish.
How do you access that?
Just go to Google and put in The Black and Blue Retort Report / Don Dupé, and it'll come right up.
Okay, one more time.
No,
Go to Google, put in The Black and Blue Retort Report, RETORT, Retort Report / Don Dupé, and it'll come right up. Yeah, it's a great essay.
And Chief was Day. What is his name?
Bob Day. Yeah.
Bob Day. Bob, I'd really like to have a cup of coffee with you, but better yet, I'd be more than glad to pick up that. I'll pick up the tab for a subscription there. If you go in there and check it out, you know what I mean? Look, want to help the department.
Yeah.
We pay the bill.
yeah, we do.
We pay the bill.
Right.
We are the employers.
Yeah.
They are the employees.
Yeah.
And this business of them against us routine, and Don, we both were military guys. There's no such thing as every division was different than the others. No, we worked as a team. We were trained that way.
Yeah.
And in all due respect, the policemen are sort of like paramilitary anyway. That whole concept will be paramilitary, so to speak. And so they need to understand that we are for them because we're paying the bill. We're responsible individuals. And if it's not working, we reach out. We want to know how to work it.
Another thing I want to say is that I'm not a cop hater.
No, I know that.
I definitely support Portland Police Bureau. However, there are some people, there are some men and women that simply should not be police officers. But I think it's important for people to have a balanced perspective. We have to have law enforcement. These police abolitionists, these prison abolitionists, it's never going to happen. We're never going to abolish police. We're never going to abolish prisons. We absolutely have to have them. So police need to be supported. And it's also, I think, really important for Portland not to have city commissioners or county commissioners who are anti-police. And we have a handful who are absolutely anti-police.
And they too need to be understanding. We are the employers.
Right.
We pay the bill.
Yeah.
Every commissioner, we pay the bill. Okay? And we're wanting results, if you will. And you don't need to go in there. You may dislike someone, but hey, that's a personal thing that you may take home. But on the job, you've got to understand. You've got to be part and parcel of the process. You've got a job to do.
Yeah.
Public safety.
And I understand why the police department didn't go after that guy. 2 weeks ago, Raul, whatever his name is, because they wanted to avoid some kind of a political thing.
Yeah.
You know, because the political climate in Portland is very, very
Oh, yeah.
problematic,
Yeah.
and there are so many cop haters in Portland and in city commissioners, county commissioners. We don't need radicals like that. We don't need extremists like.
But still, we're concerned with them too.
Yeah.
I mean, because we'd like to get them in a path where they can live a better life, if you
Yeah.
will. You know, you can't be running around just hating people.
Right.
You
Right.
can't be running around just hating public safety folks who are
Right.
trying to who
Right.
have a uniform on,
Right.
because that's why they're wearing a uniform. It's
Yeah.
a deterrent. Right,
Right.
when you had that
Uniform
uniform
does a lot of work.
That's right. And in all due respect, I've said that to the chief, to the new chief. Look, he shouldn't be wearing a suit and a tie. He should be wearing his uniform. Every time he gets on TV, he should have that uniform on, because that's a deterrent.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And then people will come and talk. They understand what that is. We spent many years, if you will, determining that piece. They should be in full uniform. No officer should. And as a paying public person, I pay for that piece. I want him in uniform.
Yeah.
And you need to understand that it's not being anti him per se. I want him in that uniform.
Yeah.
See, in all due respect, if I pick up the phone, I call him. I want to have a cup of coffee with him. I want to talk to you. I mean, he has
Sure,
to pick
invite
up the
me.
phone.
We'll also invite me. I can talk.
We're gonna have him right here. We'll have him here. You know, maybe should come on the show. Seriously.
Yeah.
You know. I mean, it's a serious problem.
It is a problem. But
And
you know
so-
what?
It's not a light problem.
Conversation we were having with Chris Davis one day. They said, "Oh yeah, Don, we know who you are."
Yeah.
And it's just that another 80-year-old. We know who you are. We
Yes.
don't care.
In
No,
the sense-
no. That's not how it was. Okay,
That's
let
how
me
it was.
clarify. No, let me clarify. We went to a big gymnasium. This was 6-7 years ago for a meeting where people could come, the public could come, and Chris Davis was there, and you could fill out a form and you could mark off the things you thought were important. Public safety, what kind of public safety, and we did that. And he came up because we had been chatting with him before. He came up and we said hello, and Don made a joke about, I'm just some old cop, I don't matter. And Chris Davis, he kind of looked at him incredulously, and he said, "No, we know who you are. We know who you are," as if he was saying, I know who you are. It wasn't said in a disingenuous or a condescending way. He was very friendly.
He wasn't, no.
And he what he was saying is, absolutely, we know who you are. It was kind of an affirmation. He's a great guy. He's really nice.
Yeah, but
take my advice.
but what I'm taking with Don, he should have gone and said, "Hey, Don, by the way, we got a committee. I want you to be at the meetings."
Well,
Did that
yeah.
happen? Did that happen?
No, but
That's what Don is referring to. I mean, don't sit up there and try to patronize me. I mean, I got something to say, and
Yeah,
you're not
yeah.
doing it. We're trying to improve it. That's why I'm saying that
Well-
the public has to be involved.
Yes.
The paying public has to be involved, and right now, they need us.
one of the issues with Portland that's problematic are all of these these groups, these police
understand.
I have wrote about it.
police review groups.
Yes.
For example, 7 or 8 years ago, there was this new review group that was being created. I can't remember exactly what they were called. And people were advertising on Facebook, fill out the application. And so I thought, well, for shits and giggles, pardon my French, I'll go ahead and I'll fill out this application. So Don and I sat down, we filled out this application. I think this was in 2015. It was a while ago. And it took an hour to fill it out. And I knew that they would not accept
And this is
either
going
of
to
us.
who?
It was going to this group of people who were creating this new citizen review board for police.
Okay.
There's several of them, and so I knew they wouldn't choose us, but I did it just to confirm my suspicions.
Right.
They didn't, so they chose a really diverse group of people, and basically what happened is, and I found this out from several people I know in the community, that it was filled with a lot of emotionally unstable people, and screaming matches, meltdowns. The police were called because it turned into a disaster, and then it
That's
dissolved. So before it dissolved, I get an email from this woman who had been in charge of choosing this colorful and diverse group of people from the community. I'm being sarcastic. And she emails me back and she's like, we were just wondering if you and Don would reconsider being a part of the group. And at the time, we were publishing his book, his first book, Behind the Badge in River City,
Right.
a Portland police memoir. And I took a lot of satisfaction in being able to say, oh, I'm so sorry, we're too busy now. No thanks. Because I had heard all of the rumor and the gossip about how, there were fights, there were screaming matches, it turned into a disaster, and then it dissolved. We have too many citizen review boards that are trying to prevent the Portland Police Bureau from doing their job.
So we're done.
Are we done?
I wanted to make sure that I get a couple more.
Okay.
And we can do this piece, but I want us to reschedule and do another.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we can reschedule.
please.
Honey, he didn't hear you.
No, I want to do
We can
another. I
reschedule.
want to do another
In
show.
a couple weeks, we'll do another show.
Can we do another
Yes.
show? Couple weeks?
Yes,
We need to talk about the new breed.
the new breed.
Okay.
I know you weren't around then,
Let's
but
talk
in
about it.
1960,
He was around. He came here.
you were here in 60. Were you?
Yes. Oh, yeah. No. 68, 69. Yeah, 68. Right after Ted, I came here.
You weren't here. Are we done?
Well, in all due respect, hey Steve, tell you what we're gonna do. We're gonna go on and get there, and then we're gonna do. Can we do a third show? We got enough time? We can do another time. We don't have enough time.
Okay. At least,
Okay,
at
we'll do
least
15 minutes. Okay. Let's do it as we have more time.
Okay.
I want to have more time.
Okay, all right,
Let's just do it. A couple weeks.
Okay.
Okay,
Yeah,
let's do it. If not, we'll do a Zoom.
Yeah,
We can do
absolutely.
a Zoom. We can do a Zoom.
come here.
Let's
We
do
can
it.
come here.
Okay, good.
And when
good.
it's during the day, he drives fine during the day. It's just at
Okay.
night.
Okay. All right then.
The one thing I want to tell you, there's only two of us left of the new breed. I was the first one that came on in 1961.
Right.
The other one that came on and is still alive is Clyde Harmon.
Clyde Harmon.
He
yeah.
retired as
I remember
lieutenant
him.
at North Precinct.
Yeah.
There's only two of us left.
Wow.
That were the new breed. There was 6 of us all together. We changed everything the police
Larry
department did.
Kanzler.
Absolutely, Larry Kanzler.
He's still alive.
What about those other two guys? They still alive? They're mobile? Can we get them? Get in touch with them?
No, they're all glad.
Clyde is in bad shape. Clyde was about 6'4". He's like 89 or 90. He's a
wow.
little older than
Clyde-
Don.
No, I'm the only one left.
Yeah.
Well, we're going to talk
Well,
about that.
Larry Kanzler lives in California.
Okay.
but-
We'll do that, bro. Okay.
Are we done?
All right, yeah. This is going on. This is community television, folks. We got another guest going to come on. Okay,
It's only 15 minutes.
no problem. We get on. Can get on.
We want you guys in.
Okay. Well, this was fun.
Yeah,
We'll do it
that's
again.
good. We did good.
Yeah.
We start now.
And
Now
it's good if they end it while we're still yakking.
exactly.
You know.
Let me get this. Okay. Let me get over here. Let me get over here real quick. Let me get about 15 minutes in.
Oh, here. Let me
yeah.
get a picture of you guys. Picture you guys together.
I've been this a long time. Maybe sometime someone will listen.
You see, come on.
Huh?
You see coming on.
Recording.
Come on.
Sorry.
Come on. That's okay. We're still on. We're still on, right?
Yes.
Okay.
It's still on.
Yes. Community television, folks. We get another guest real quick. Okay. All right. See you guys in a minute.
See you later.
Come on, Rochelle. Come on. Sorry about that. Come on.
Sneak on in here.
Let's see, get the John. Get John. Put him in photo. Put him in here. We do all.
Oh, you want-
We'll do all. No, you stay right there.
Okay.
Come on, John, real quick. Like, we got a good 15 minutes here. We get some. Cause we want to make sure we attach this to this show.
Yeah, me and John were having a
Okay,
conversation.
good. Okay, so we're here now. Sorry about that for those folks, but we wanted to make sure we brought these guests in right now, and we're going to chat a little bit more about some of the things that were being said about police. We talk about police, but we also talk about some of the other things that's going to be coming up, which is good. And these are two of the folks that kind of co-sponsors, if you will, co-hosts. They're all part of the deal, team aspect of it. We want to make sure we get them in before we got to get a good 15 minutes, okay? Let's go. Let's talk. Okay. One, we were talking a little bit to Don Dupay and his wife Teresa, talking about public safety aspect of it. And it was a very interesting show. I wanted to bring them on because they're the historical folks. We've been talking about these issues for years. And we just wanted to make it a point to the public, if you will, that the public are concerned about public safety. And we've been talking about this on an ongoing basis. And a lot of times the public needs to know they are the employers. They are the ones that signs the checks. Okay? The police department are basically our employees. They're the employees, okay, in all due respect. And naturally, we want to respect them too, but we're just as responsible. We've got to be more responsible in basically being able to tell them basically what we want done. And a lot of times they will come back in terms of, this is how we're going to solve the problem, right? And then, so that's kind of like that's where we're coming from. So it's not about being anti-police. We're not trying to be anti-police, but the whole idea is that we still have an issue within our community, within the city of Portland.
Well, I'm gonna
to me.
already disagree one time with you, but agree and disagree.
I'm just
and I'm gonna
sharing.
tell you where I'm gonna disagree.
Talk.
Well, let's start with the agreement. We need public safety,
Right.
and we have reasons to need the police. I am more for services than police. I'd like to see a reduction in the police force because we have a network of support services for the things police are frequently being called for.
Okay.
And right now, you know that 50% of the calls involve the houseless community. And some of those calls could be eliminated by having other systems in place.
Okay.
So that's where I want to see the police. I've said this before, it may not sound very pretty, but we don't need the police to be someone's daddy. We don't need them to be their therapist. We just need the police to come in when we as a community cannot handle a solution, and we need someone to immediately intervene because someone needs to be jailed. If that's not the situation and someone needs mental health help, they're better off being helped by a mental health professional.
Or the county.
Yes, and the police are not trained to do that. Also, when there are problems
Right.
and we need some parental authority, the police aren't the best one to do that, though many of them are parents. That is not their apparatus for that. So I think we need to change the apparatus, support our police in policing, and support our community in providing services that we actually need, like mental health, counseling, housing, other issues like that.
That's the county.
Yeah, that's why I disagree and agree. Well, the city can provide some support as well. So it's not all on the county for, they provide homeless services, right? But when we're giving our police authorization to assist, this is mainly what they're assisting in. And a lot of times it's not the big, the car thieves that we think about. Because if you had your car stolen and you tried to call the police to get it back, you know very well your car is not coming back.
Who's responsible for that?
Well,
Huh? Is it the city or the county?
Well, it should be the city. It should be the city.
It should be the city. But who is responsible? Who's doing it now?
Well, that's a good question. I haven't had my car stolen of late, but I can tell you that I have had to interact with the city police, and it did not go well.
Okay.
After trying to visit the Northeast Police Office several times, I did not realize they were only open from like 8 to noon and then noon to 2. Well, I didn't get off work at 2 o'clock. So I found out that, how many times do you visit the police office to know when they're open, right? So I just figured the police office was open 9 to 5, 8 to 6, something like that. Wrong. Then I tried to call someone. No.
Who'd you
It's
call?
been weeks.
What did you call the police department? Did you call the city?
I called the police department directly. I called a couple detectives directly, and I did not get an answer over several weeks. I want to say that this issue wasn't for myself. This was an issue of community members that wanted me to share information.
Okay.
And so I was just being the intermediary for this information that should be helpful to them and to the community. And I just didn't find that they were responsive. And it was a very serious matter. Eventually, I did talk to someone and they transferred the information. But I talked to someone only because they were having a break in a place that I was at, and I said, hey, I've been trying to get a hold of these people, and I really don't want to, feel like I'm going above them.
No, you're a citizen. You're paying the bill.
But this was, a very serious matter.
Well, look, we've agreed. We actually agree we do need to get the public, the paying public, more involved, if you will, in the work that we're paying for. That's all I'm saying. It's a very simple process. You know, they've signed a contract to do a job. They're getting paid with a contract.
Is there enough money? Because John and I were talking about the budget and
Well-
all that. What do you think, John?
Well, then that no, wait, I'll bring him in. Let me, and I'll throw this piece in. The fact of the matter is, we've got individuals we're paying for now. It's called city council. We got people that are responsible, that we're paying to be our so-called monitoring entity, all that other good stuff, and the concern. That's why I wanted you to share your thoughts about this deal. We got 13. We got what? We got 4. We got 12. Well, including the mayor, we got 13 people that we're paying to basically be responsible for what you're just saying.
But it's been over a month that since this report was made, and nobody has even picked up the
I'm
phone.
agreeing with you. I'm agreeing with
It's
you.
horrible.
So now we got to do something. No, so John, what's your answer to that, please?
Well,
Real quick now.
people need to realize what's going on, and one of the things is like the traffic crashes. See, the last reports a couple of years ago was 46,000 people were killed in traffic crashes. Now that's one number. Now I did safety work in the National Guard and with the city of Portland, and they used a double iceberg theory. You know, because an iceberg you're only seeing the 10%. Well, you get to 46,000 were killed. We're having 460,000 that are seriously injured, and some of those people are blinded or crippled for life. And then so you have about 4,600,000 that have minor injuries. A lot of them aren't
And not
reported.
Portland, right? This is not Portland.
It's nationwide. But
Okay,
the
yeah,
thing
but
is,
yeah, but I'm
you look at what the traffic crashes are, and they talk about the kills. Well, you got the injured, serious injuries, and the minor injuries that are not reported. When people realize what the down ladder effect is, then it gets to be more serious. When you're talking, you know, a couple million people that are seriously infected.
That's fine, but what about Portland?
Okay.
Well, you know,
with Portland, the thing is, now on the budget, the mayor says they're going to put more money into the police and rebuild the police department.
That's what the mayor is saying.
That's what the mayor is
present it to the city council.
Yes.
Who
And
have to sign off. They haven't
you
done
said
this
that's
yet.
on Monday
Yeah.
that they're going to
Yeah.
hash her out.
Right.
But I think the deal is that they have is they've cut so far back on the police departments, and when they talk about some of the things they can't do, what they need, they have training they have to do all the time, and this street psychology, they could develop classes at the community colleges so they can get trained so that they can do that. And that same training, say for an associate of science in street psychology, people could take it straight, or the fact that like the school teachers and stuff, they have to go to school every so often. I believe it's 6 credit hours every 3 years, and they can get training and they could get an associate degree in street psychology, and maybe later a little higher up as they get more and more education. But they need to have more people that deal with them, because I was a private security guard and I was a military policeman, and when you come to some person, it might seem like there's nothing to it, then it turns real wild. But if you have good psychology training or bent for it, you could handle the problem a lot sooner, you know, because
Is that what we want our police department doing, though? I just don't think they're qualified, and I
deal
know
is to
that
get
a lot
them
of them don't
qualified,
want to do that.
you
They
get them
didn't go
qualified
into that
and you
field.
get other people qualified, and so the fact that you can have more people qualified, so the fact that it might be just another citizen has some training so that they could smooth it over.
Yes, and I definitely do think that could make an impact, that they have some basic training on de-escalation. But as we know, for a long time, it hasn't been effective. So I don't think training is a problem. So I remember there was a movie about James Chassie called Alien Boy. If you go online, you can find that on YouTube. You can see it for free. It's about a gentleman who had a developmental disability, and he was urinating in the street. That escalated. And we find a lot of problems with escalation with the police. But what I'm saying is they shouldn't be there in the first place. And so while de-escalation training is great, we need to minimize the chance that they have to be making decisions where they don't need to be making decisions. I also don't want them in the hospital, right? So I've seen a lot of unfortunate situations where homeless people are being escorted out of the hospitals. And that's sad. And hospital dumping. Why are the police involved in that? If the community supports that, they should have someone else do that. The police cannot be the dumping ground for everything.
I agree.
They are responsible for safety and security. And I just feel bad when I see some of them dealing with these issues that are really root problems from society, but we dump it on the police because we don't want to deal with it.
But just do we communicate to the public at large, the paying public at large, our expectation, and are they being trained, i.e., in those areas? Did they sign a contract? So, for instance, they've got a police academy. That's who they train. That's who trains them.
Oh, I know that.
That's who trains them and graduates out of that and get their certificates. I'm qualified now. That's a fact. So
Yes.
the key is that you need to know. So then, that's picked up by the public again too.
I'll
That
be
training-
honest,
that
I
training
participated in help training
Okay.
some of them a few
Okay,
years
so
ago.
my point is that that's where it's at. Okay, so the key is that are they doing the things that we're talking?
No.
Okay, well then.
And I can say that because I
Who's
applied to
responsible?
be the trainer.
Who's responsible that signs the check for the training program?
Well, that's part of the deal is
Who is
the
the- who-
training program, the fact that they could add this street psychology
Who pays
onto
for that,
the
John?
training.
You know who
We
pays
do.
for that? We do, but what component have we basically assigning the check to get the training done? They got a training academy.
Well, a lot of times you go to those people and it says, as a citizen, and you say, you should add, like it says, add that
Right.
training to
right,
it.
Right.
And it says, you don't know. We're the experts, so you know nothing.
And that's the city council who represents us. See, we elect these folks, right? And they're getting paid by us. Okay? So they're the ones that are supposed to be able to go to the component of training and talk about you, the citizen. Basically, you're the paying, because you're the voter. Right? And that's what they should be able to say, okay, fine, we want this change, and this is why. Okay? And who's responsible? Does the county gets involved in the process? Then guess what? They've got a training academy. And then they've got responsible people who were elected to office to represent us as a whole.
I don't think many people actually think it's a priority. I think there's people who are thinking pro-police or I'm not pro-police,
Yeah.
and I'm not either of those.
We can't live
I
that
think
anymore.
Pardon?
We can't live that way anymore. It's
Yeah.
public safety.
Yes, we have to have some safety.
what we
We
want.
have to figure out
yeah.
if we can go outside, if it's safe to go outside. We need to be able to work. People talk about, oh, we're going to fill downtown again. Not until it's safe.
Yep.
People don't want to go downtown to shop. And we're having a great discussion here. I think we could be here all day discussing
Yes, we can.
this.
That's right.
We're going to have to
But we wanted to make
discuss
sure
it some
we-
more
yeah, that's
another
right.
time.
We'll get back to this subject matter
Yes.
the next time around. Okay.
Well,
Sounds
one
good.
thing is-
real quick, like
You mentioned the public urination. You go downtown and you got to go. Where do you go?
oh, there
And
you
if
go. Where you poop? Somebody's house.
And on that note,
All right. On that particular note, hey folks, we'll see you next week. We got a lot to talk about. Get involved. Get involved. We got to get involved. You're paying the bill. You got to get involved. Have a good one. Take care. Boy, this has been very interesting. We did it.